Ah, Hockenheim, the place where Schumacher set the crowd on fire, Benetton set Jos Verstappen on fire, and Vettel set his own career on fire. It is also the place where Nelson Piquet once started a fistfight with Eliseo Salazar, and where I went to school actually. Hockenheim is probably one of the top 10 most iconic venues in Formula 1 history, though I may be biased, but it sure has given us a lot of iconic moments and great races. And I'm sure, had they not made a big mistake between 2001 and 2002, it'd still be on the calendar challenging Monza for the title of Temple of Speed. The layout of 2001 was a lot different to the one we know today. And while today's layout isn't bad and probably even a little more challenging and interesting to drive, it just has lost Hockenheim its character as well as put it deeply in debt, which is why it's not on the calendar anymore. Back then, Hockenheim was a proper high-speed track, and while not the most challenging for the drivers, it was a true challenge for the equipment, with retirements coming pretty frequently. That mixed up the order very often, and its unique character did so as well. The Aeros team of the late 90s and early 2000s, for example, while being far from the points in most races, with their insane straight-line speed, were suddenly able to fight for points pretty easily. And it was so cool disappearing into the forest after turn 1, where you had a flat-out blast interrupted by only a couple of chicanes in the later years of the layout that offered great overtaking spots though. And after something like 1.5 minutes solely in the forest, you entered that great stadium section that still exists today, but where there was an awesome atmosphere during the Schumacher years, and while that is still cool today, the effect it had after that run through the forest is just missing today. Now, let's just dream for a bit. If they had never changed the layout, how would modern F1 be at the Hockenheimring? Well, here's a Hotlap. As I said, not the most challenging layout, but still pretty cool, and well, it is unique in a good way. But could we still race here? Well, that question can easily be answered. No, that layout doesn't exist anymore. To build the new layout with more space for grandstands and the facilities in general, the track owners made the deal to reforest that bit that they had to deforest in the place of the old layout, so you can still see the old layout from satellite images, but nature has reclaimed that bit. Everything that is left is a bit of the track towards the new hairpin that is now a service road. But nevertheless, let's look how modern F1 cars could race against each other here. Let's have a short 5-lap race around the old Hockenheim layout back from 2001. And here we are on the grid as Sebastian Vettel in his Aston Martin on the old 2001 layout of the Hockenheimring, the one before the track was changed, and we get a good start. We're already past the Alpine, the Alfa Romeo, and Yuki Tsunoda, who are starting ahead of us. And now we are in the slipstream of Sergio Perez going into the forest and towards the first of 3 chicanes in the forest bit. And you can instantly see that there is slipstream battles everywhere here in lap 1 as cars try to make up as much ground as they can on the opening lap. Talking about DRS, I think the entire track would be one huge DRS zone. Just looking at it as we go into the second chicane in the Ostkurve, where Sergio Perez runs very wide and we make up another spot. So we are now into P8 as we're still behind Carlos Sainz in his Ferrari. Late on the brakes into the third and final chicane in the forest. He makes it past Fernando Alonso. Oh, we almost lose our car there on the acceleration out of that final chicane that now leads towards the stadium section. Perez went around the outside, very daring move. He gives us the choice, either you let me through or we crash. So, well, we choose the first option there, as we are now coming through the stadium section. That is still the same as it is today, so you should be familiar with that one. Of course, the runoff back in the day is not as tarmacy as it is today, if tarmacy is even a word, and we make it past Sergio Perez as we get the better exit out of turn 1 and into the forest once more for the second time now. We have lost quite a lot compared to Carlos Sainz, who is still ahead of us, battling with Fernando Alonso. So good race here by Fernando, who is really punching above his weight. He, of course, in this year will be driving our car, the Aston Martin, and well, Pierre Gasly will take his spot in the Alpine. And now out of the Ostkurve here, that before, like in the 70s, there weren't any chicanes, not even in the Ostkurve, so this was a very fast banked right hand corner. Very, very exciting, but far too dangerous, obviously. And well, the chicane now is a much better overtaking spot than the banked right-hander was, so I think that is not the worst of all. So, you know me, usually I don't really like chicanes like the old Variante Bassa or Variante Alta at Imola. Chicanes that are purely there to disrupt or to slow cars down, as we are now close to Alonso, but not able to make a move. Now this time maybe, as Sainz doesn't get the better of exits, and Alonso has to slow down for him as well, and we make it past both of them now, going towards the first chicane. And yeah, as I was just talking about chicanes, usually I don't really like them if they're just there to slow cars down, but I think at the old Hockenheimring they are actually pretty good, as they provide an overtaking zone under braking, which usually wouldn't be there. I mean, if it wasn't for the chicanes in the very old layout, like it was in the very old layout, it really would just be flat out racing through a forest and waiting to come back to the stadium section. So I think the chicanes even made this layout better, as I said, they provided an overtaking opportunity. And they're actually quite flowing and fun chicanes, as you can see, as I'm going through the last one of those 3 in the forest. They're not as clumsily as, for example, yeah, the old Variante Bassa in Imola, or, well, even much before the chicane ahead of Acqua Minerale in Imola. That was really, really terrible. You might have seen in my 1991 San Marino Grand Prix I did in Automobilista 2, that is. As we are now entering the penultimate lap, and we're just behind the leading pack of cars. 2 McLarens ahead of us, Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. Norris, the car that is now just in front of us. And now we are trying to make a move ahead of the first chicane, which we get done. Maybe we can even take his teammate as well, but we don't. We even have to take care that Norris is not making it past, which he actually is. So side by side now once more. Running towards the Ostkurve, but we managed to stay ahead of the British McLaren driver. As ahead of us there is some intense battling going on between 4 different cars. Now we need to make sure that Norris doesn't get a move done into the final chicane here. But we managed to stay ahead of the McLaren. And now he is trying around our outside towards the corner that brings us back into the Motodrome. He backs out of it. He doesn't try any funny stuff that Sergio Perez tried at the opening lap of this race. And now we hopefully can focus on the cars ahead for the final lap of the race. Our battery is pretty charged, so we could be able to attack those 4 ahead. First on our list is Daniel Ricciardo, as we almost run a little wide into that turn 1 here. As we are now turning it up into the attack mode of our battery, and we are alongside Daniel Ricciardo, but as they are going 3 wide towards that first chicane, Hamilton, Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, we have to slow down, and therefore Daniel Ricciardo manages to get back past us. And now towards the Ostkurve, well, we're a little early on the brakes. Oh, and there was some issue. There was a lot of dust kicking up as we almost ran into the back of Ricciardo. And now we lost a lot of time because of that. And I think that was it. I don't think we will be able to make a move on them, as they're still battling, going now towards the stadium section as they enter the final forest chicane. And well, look at them still being side by side here in the stadium section. Charles Leclerc trying to make it past Lewis Hamilton. Oh, I think it's George Russell even, actually. So sorry, mixed those two up. But now this was it, as we are once again close to Daniel Ricciardo. And I think one more lap and we might have got him, but that has been it. We finish in P5 at the old Hockenheimring here with modern Formula 1 cars. And what do we take from that? It is a great track for racing with slipstream battles everywhere. What a shame it doesn't exist anymore. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Feel free to suggest a track I could cover in this series as well, and subscribe to not miss anything in the future. That's it from me. I hope to see you all the next time, and goodbye.